Hello and welcome into the starters. I'm Dave. That's Simon. That's George. How's it going, boys?
All good, Dave. All good.
What's going on, Dave?
All right, good. That's what I want to hear. All right, let's jump into it. Mike Matheson, big contract extension, very reasonable numbers in my opinion, but I just want to know more. My question to you guys, I want you guys to fill in the blank here. Mike Matheson's contract extension makes blank expendable.
Oh, makes blank expendable. I read that question wrong. I was like, okay, I'm completely thrown off here. Makes who? I don't know who makes expendable. It all depends on how big game hunting you want to go, right? But look, you're solid, right? I think, my opinion, I think you're set 1 through 4 on the blue line for the next little bit. Now, Caden Gooley needs to stay healthy. Let's just say that does play itself out. Hudson, Dobson, clearly being paid top 4 guys. Dobson doesn't get an extension to be part of a bottom 6 over the next few years. Caden Gooley fits the profile that none of those other guys do, a little bit more of a complete package defensively. So I'll go a little bit, Dave, if you want to entice somebody to part ways with their second line center or somebody that's a center and them that can fit your void, you've got to give up some type of quality in return. So I'll go with David Reinbacher. I like Adam Engstrom's game. I just don't know if you dangle him out there, teams will be like, oh, well, Engstrom, sure, why don't you say so? Take our, second line center here. So I'll just say they're set 1 through 4 for the next little bit. Carey is still part of this team for a little bit. So, again, if you want to entice somebody else to part ways with a better player on their roster, it's got to be somebody that has a little bit of upside going forward. So I'll say it's David Reinbacher.
All right, fair enough. George, fill in the blank for me, please.
So I'm going to say a name that already we kind of been hearing a little bit lately. Caden Gooley, man. I think Caden Gooley's injury history and especially his value makes him the guy that I think the Canadiens would be willing to part with if they were big name hunting. So also, I don't know if Reinbacher gets a deal done for a established superstar center, where I do think Gooley does. Gooley will move the needle and will fetch you back a return of a superstar center. So, look, all things being equal, I think the Montreal Canadiens probably don't make that trade. But, if the Pittsburgh Penguins are on the other line, and we've talked about them a lot because there's a certain number 87 that we dream of him, skating on the Bell Center ice wearing the bleu, blanc, and rouge. If they ask for Caden Gooley, I can see the Canadiens making that deal, and you kind of know what you're getting with Caden Gooley now. I think he's reached the type of player he's going to be. He's a good hockey player. He's a top 4 defenseman. He's a guy that can eat minutes. He can play against some of the better players. You don't know what Reinbacher's ceiling is right now. It's still out there. Defensemen take a little bit longer to develop. I just see Gooley as the guy right now because he's not on the ice, right, either. And he hasn't been on the ice a lot. And that's a thing that's probably in the back of Jeff Gordon's mind, Ken Hughes' mind, and I know Martin St. Louis' mind because, he's got to put somebody out there every game that he's not there. So I would say Caden Gooley is the guy.
Interesting. All right. It definitely both players are a possibility, especially when you put them in a package together, or not together, but a package with involving other people. I think that makes for a very interesting. And those are two guys who would definitely interest most teams. Caden Gooley's injury history might, if it's questioning Jeff Gordon, if it's a question in Jeff Gordon's mind, I'm sure it's a question in a lot of other general managers.
The other thing, Dave, right-handed defenseman, right? That's tough. That's tough. That's really a tough thing to trade. You don't see that a lot in the NHL, right-handed defenseman being traded. Do you have the guts to trade 2 right-handed defensemen in the same season?
Fair enough. All right. So That leads me to my next question, and it was formulated a bit differently. But now, since after Simon's response, I'm gonna rephrase it a little bit. Who are we more likely to see in the NHL this season? So not necessarily with the Habs. I mean, just to add a little something into the mix, it will be David Reinbacher or Fowler.
So I'm gonna say C here.
C.
I'm gonna say Michael Hage is going to be coming to the NHL at the end of the season. I think Jacob Fowler right now is looking like the odds-on bet because of how the goaltenders are playing. Reinbacher, well, I don't know how he fits in when you've got 7 healthy defensemen. That's going to be tough. And they brought up Engstrom before they brought him up. So I would say, he's probably 9th on the pecking order. However, Michael Hage is ripping it up. Don't know if you know what's going on there in Michigan, Dave, but he had 6 points over the weekend. And my guy, Michael Hage, there's like a little hole on the Montreal Canadiens depth chart for a center. And Michael Hage seems to fit that. His game seems almost NHL ready. A lot of the scouts are talking about how he's really grown into his body. He's more of a physical presence on the ice now. He's killing the score sheet. Michael Hage is my pick, even though you didn't list him. I'm going off the board here. Michael Hage.
I think that's against the rules, but I'll allow it this time. Simon, are you going to go a D option? What's going on here?
There's nobody calling. I have no idea. Clearly, George and I have different internet at home. I haven't seen one person call for Michael Hage to be called up this season. If he does get called up, it'll be because Michael Hage's representatives and Ken Hughes want to burn a entry year, so that's why he'll come
or
up.
There's a deep need.
He will not be coming up in October, November, December, January, February to be a savior as a 19-year-old or whatever he is. If he comes up, he'll come up with a week left of hockey so he can burn a year the same way I believe Lane Hudson did and Demidov did. So that I can totally see happening.
But that's what I was talking about. But that's
I'm not going to. Well, that's not Dave's question. Dave's question is like somebody to come up in December, January.
Oh, I didn't hear December. Didn't hear that.
Well, okay, Dave's asking who's going to come up in game number 80. George, that was the question.
No, who's going to come up first was his question, to be fair. Who would come up first?
If they don't clean up what we saw against the Ottawa Senators defensively, I think you're doing an incredible disservice to bringing up Fowler on a team that is lost in their own end. Now, they looked bad against the Senators, looked much better against the Jets. So if the trend continues to play well defensively like they did right around January and February this year, like right after Four Nations, then I think you can bring up a young goalie. But to bring up a young goalie when the coach in the front office doesn't think that they're playing well in their own end, that is the ultimate recipe. You want to burn a young goalie? Bring him up on a team that has no idea what they're doing defensively, just giving up scoring chance after scoring chance. So I'm going to just say, like George mentioned, that there are several defensemen on this club. There's several NHLers. But Struble and Jackeye, I'm not going to say that are in the doghouse, but you can sit him. I think the coach will sit either one of those guys on any night because he doesn't like what he's getting from him. I like Alex Carrier's move last year. I think he was a better player last year. There's moments this year that I think the struggle is real. Healthy scratch, not there yet. You string together a couple of losses in a row and you don't think you're getting enough from your blue line. Like you said, they brought up Engstrom first, but don't forget Reinbacher was coming off an injury. They wanted to get his minutes in Laval before they threw him into an NHL game. So I think the safest bet and the safest player to come up, I think, is going to be David Reinbacher at some point if they get in trouble on the blue line. I don't mind the Michael Hage. I just think that's much later on in the season. And if the goaltending is faltering and they're not winning games and they're giving up a lot of goals, they're not taking what they believe is a crown jewel. And maybe privately, if you ask them who is their best prospect or who they want to hitch their wagon to, and that's Fowler, there is no way they'll bring him up if this team starts to spiral defensively. That is just the ultimate recipe to fail a goalie. I think this kid might be here for a decade. He doesn't have to be here when they're not playing well in February, March, and April of 2026. I don't want to burn.
If you remember, I like to go back into history real quick. Once upon a time, 1986, I believe, called up a young Patrick Waugh who struggled during the season, went into the playoffs, and ripped off, 16 wins, and they won the Stanley Cup. I'm just throwing that out there.
Yeah, that's good. So just tell me another time between 1986, when most of the people watching this podcast weren't born, and 2025.
No, but I do remember 86. I was there. You were there.
I think they used to call up goalies who didn't wear masks, but now we tell them to wear masks.
Yeah.
So time evolves, things evolve.
Agreed. It hasn't happened in a while, but I'm just saying,
George,
there's some history there.
We don't play goalies back to back anymore. So like what they did in the 80s and 90s and 20 years ago or 15 years ago, I don't think is relevant. I don't bring up any goalie when they are not playing well defensively. Is this team feels that if the coach feels they're playing well defensively, really well defensively, and the goaltending is not the issue, maybe. I'm still not there.
I agree for you. I agree with you for the record. I agree totally with what you're saying. 2
goalies have to go down, and maybe even 3 goalies have to go down before I want to put Fowler in nets and get bombarded. He's not going to be the difference. He's not going to show up to the playoffs, and they're going to be facing the Washington Capitals or whoever, and the Capitals or the Lightning are just going to be, oh my. Well, we thought we had a chance, but now with Fowler, we don't have a chance. He's not a great story.
Great story, though.
It'd be a great story, but he's not a difference maker at this point in his career. That player, that position needs to be groomed and developed properly. I don't care for 3-4 months in 2026. The big picture is the big picture with that kid. So steady as she goes.
All right, fair enough. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Simon, for sticking with the within the rules and picking one of my 2 choices. George, I like the effort, your extracurricular effort of picking someone off. And I thank you, gentlemen, and be sure to tune in, of course, to the starters every Saturday and Sunday from 10 to noon on TSN 690. And, of course, give us all a follow and subscribe. Thank you. We just reached 1,000 subscribers, so keep it going on at the starters 690 on YouTube and everywhere on social media. Thanks, gentlemen.
Ciao, boys.